North America's top street stock racers have provided plenty of fireworks. They battled nose to tail, door handle to door handle, and then some in their quest for a championship. Today, the pyrotechnics continue with a pair of flat-out sprint races on one of the world's most challenging street circuits. From Trois-Rivieres in Quebec, Canada, it's round 6 of the Motorola Cup. Brought to you by Motorola, web without wires. By Derringer, complete international logistics solutions. And by Sunoco Ethanol Enhanced Ultra 94, the gasoline that powers the Motorola Cup. Jim Martin, and welcome to round 6 of the Motorola Cup. As you can see, the cars are on the track for the pace lap. Working with me today, once again, Terry Irwood, a former street stock racing champion and chief instructor at the Skip Barber Racing School. Terry, this Trois-Rivieres street circuit is one of the most famous in North America.
And as you know, Jim, I love a street circuit, and this is one of the best. It has concrete walls, it's got some wide open spaces, one second-gear corner, some high-speed third-gear corners. Boy, you have to, but you come into this arch here, this is bizarre. 3 or 4 cars, you've got to narrow it down. There's only one preferred lane here, a lot of action coming under the arch. Once you can make the arch, it's very critical. This is a long, long straightaway. Up to third gear, up to fourth gear. Some of the cars will get to fifth gear, so leaving that arch is so critical, and yet it's so hard to get in there. We have some hard braking. We'll see a lot of brake wear today. A lot of fender to fender, hard to pass on this whole racetrack.
Coming up, we've got 2 50-minute sprint races, which means no pit stops, no driver changes. It's going to be a battle.
Unless they do it on the flat.
That's true. The Speed Stick fastest qualifiers today. First off, let's take a look at Grand Sport. We've got Scott Maxwell in the 0 Ford Mustang on the pole. Beside him, Doug Goad in the 11 Pontiac Firebird, and Marty Miller in the 32 Phoenix American Firebird right in behind.
No surprise here in sports. Lance Stewart, the number 10 Acura, is on the pole. Paulo Delchin is number 2, and Hugh Plum, the Skip Barber instructor, number 3.
In touring, it's Mark Hine in the number 58 Honda Prelude, Wayne Nunemaker, the 40 Mazda MX-6, and Bob Endicott, 71 Acura.
Compact is the Honda Civic of Kevin Bonneau, Jocelyn Hebert, and Bob Beatty, third.
We'll be right back with a start. The Motorola Cup round from Trois-Rivieres next. Coming up, we've got the start here at Trois-Rivieres, Quebec. The field is all lined up. Coming around the final corner, this is an interesting piece of the racetrack as everybody gets stretched out once things get rolling. Everybody's picking up the pace, though. Scotty Maxwell and Doug Goad side by side, accelerating toward the green flag, and we're underway. Scott with a little bit of an advantage heading into turn number 1. Doug Goad's not giving him an inch, though.
Boy, look at the back, though. This is just like an intersection on the highway where you get narrowed down to one lane and then finally one lane here. As we go to the arch, it has to be a one-lane racetrack for a moment because it's a nice long straightaway. We funnel down. Now we have to watch the slinky effect. They stack up in the back.
Now, it's kind of interesting. We're riding along with Scott Maxwell, who's chosen to fall in behind Doug Goad so that he didn't get stacked up in that arch. But he's not going to stay back there for long. Scott Maxwell coming around to the top side of the circuit, steals back the first spot that he gave away a corner earlier.
Yeah, he looked right and popped left. A cool move.
Nice piece of racecraft. Scotty Maxwell's our race leader. In behind, we've got Doug Goad, Craig Conway, his teammate, Marty Miller in the black Pontiac Firebird running in 4th spot as the field begins to stretch out already. That Coca-Cola Ford Mustang seems to have maybe a little bit more horsepower in a straight line than the Pontiacs already.
Yeah, they'll use those cars up pretty hard here. They got a lot of straightaway, a lot of low-end torque on this Mustang.
As we come down the start-finish line to complete lap number 1, Scott Maxwell, the race leader, with a single file in behind him of at least 8 cars. What a great-looking race we've got, and this is only the first lap.
We've got the Firebirds, Mustangs. Here comes our Mazda up front.
Benoit Tiege in that number 16 Mazda looking for a way around already, currently sitting in 6th spot in the middle of this freight train. He's following a bunch of Firebirds, and he's got 2 other Ford Mustangs in behind him. It's a Firebird Mustang mix with kind of a Mazda sandwich in the middle there.
Yeah, the RX-7 doesn't have the torque of the V8 motors, but boy, he's got the handling and the brakes.
And it looks as though every time they come up to a corner, Benoit Tiege is looking one side or the other to see whether or not he can take advantage of those brakes, too.
Yeah, on the street circuit, you've got to get around every car you can. Joe Vardy's book says, see the car in front of you, get him behind you as quick as you can.
Sounds like a shrewd piece of racecraft as the racers come down the start-finish line, and it looks as though we've got a bit of a gap beginning to develop between first and second. leaving all those guys battling it out for a third spot.
And the problem here is Marty Miller knows that he's a little bit quicker than Conway. He knows those leaders are getting away. He's got to get up there. He knows he's fast enough to run with them if he can get to them.
Trying to run side by side with that number 30 car just out front. Bill Berggren seems to be holding up that pack just a little bit, and Marty Miller's just chomping at the bit trying to find his way around now down the start-finish line again, as we've got another two running side by side, Lacey and Teach too.
And that's the next problem. You're looking at the leaders walking away, but you're looking at the guys behind you. You've got to hold them off at the same time.
So Craig Conway runs in third spot, but not for long, as it looks as though Marty Miller's stolen away that third position. Marty Miller, the 32 car, finally finds his way around.
A cool outside pass. That's a hard move to make, but he knows if he leads coming down to this arch here, he's got a nice long straightaway to maybe stretch a little breathing room.
A real fine piece of driving, and it looks as though when they see somebody coming up behind him, moving to the inside and taking away the easy pass, looks to be pretty simple. We've got another pair running side by side, the teammates.
Especially on a narrow street circuit like this, you can block the move ideally, but you slow up, you hurt yourself for the next straightaway.
So Craig Conway falls down another spot as Bill Berggren gets by as well. Craig Conway looked to be holding everybody up there just a little bit. Now Benoit Teach looks to the inside. Maybe he's next to go by that 30 car.
Yeah, the RX-7 feels like he's quicker. He's taking another look right now. And, oh, cool, nice move. He turns early, though, and that tracks him out early. He's going to get passed back. Nothing finer in life than a pass back.
It's going one way, and then it comes back the other as he says, okay, we'll let you go by for this corner, but I've got the momentum coming out of the turn, and I'll steal it back again. However, Benoit Teach now has another problem. There's a red Ford Mustang trying to get by him.
This is great action. This is why these guys race these cars. You're side by side. You've got to be looking ahead. You've got to be looking behind you. You can never relax for a second.
Into that first turn, once again, we see the brake marking signs come up on the left-hand side there as David Lacey looks to the outside, now to the inside. They head down toward the arch, and now the two Ford Mustangs are running side by side.
But that won't work coming down to the arch. They've got to slot back in line. It's a single-car racetrack coming on this long straightaway.
I've got to hand it to the drivers who are doing a great job so far. The cars are all packed up at the start, and so far, in spite of the fact that this track is pretty narrow in places, nobody's made any kind of contact with either the wall or another race car.
I think it's pretty early yet, Jim.
Still too early to say too much about that kind of thing. In the sport class, the number 10 of Lance Stewart leading his class. The 81 BMW Palo del Chin running in second spot, fighting with a pair of Grand Sport cars right in behind, trying to find their way around. The sport class is pretty quick today.
Sports cars are quick. On a street circuit, it's a great equalizer because the sports cars actually can corner better, they have better brakes, and they come off the corner pretty hard. Only on the long straightaways do you see the big V8s really roll.
We haven't seen a lot of Palo del Chin so far in the Motorola Cup season, but he's doing a great job in that 81 car. Now, does one of the Mazda RX-7, the Grand Sport car, goes by in the 54 BMW. Another one of the Grand Sport machines, the M3 BMW, will probably be the next to get by.
Yeah, a couple of different classes here running together, even though these BMWs look the same, but they are different classes.
Little different motor size with the 81 car being the 2.8 liter, the M3, the 3.2 liter car, which puts it up into the Grand Sport class with the Firebirds and the Mazda RX-7s and the like. A great battle coming down that straightaway as now we'll probably see that BMW go by in spite of the fact he's had a little battle damage.
I'm not sure that's aerodynamically approved.
I don't think that's the way it rolled out of the showroom.
Here comes our touring battle, the number 71 BBS White Acura. That's Bob Endicott leading over Mark Hine in the black Honda Prelude number 58 from Clearwater, Florida. Third is Wayne Nonemaker, the Planet Earth MX-6 Mazda.
A great battle in touring classes, and this is the way this whole class has gone all season long. They're running nose to tail in the middle of this race, and they're just having a ton of fun. I can't help but imagine.
Oh, these cars in touring, you know, that was my old class, and I love it. You could throw a cold, wet blanket over the entire field any one time, and probably should.
Anybody makes a mistake, there's about 3 guys in behind that are going to steal away the spot. The race leader still Scott Maxwell, the Zero Multimatic Ford Mustang, and hot in pursuit. He's got that yellow number 11, the Doug Goat Sunoco Firebird, right in behind him, as now they're starting to pick their way through some of the other classes, the sport and touring class cars, making things a little bit interesting.
That's what happens on a tight circuit like this. The leaders have already come around and caught the touring cars, and so now not only do you have your own battle, you've got to try to hold off the V8s and get them around you as cleanly as possible.
The race for 4th place, as we've got the 30 of Bill Berggren, the 31 car, his teammate Craig Conway, and then the red number 7 David Lacey Ford Mustang. Another real tight group out on the race circuit, and they're battling for 4th spot out there.
Yeah, this is a huge fight here. So we have so many fights around the racetrack. The leaders, here's a whole pack trying to get in 3rd place. Oh, we have a car off track.
The 72 Andy Lawley BMW Z3 is spun Gets it turned around. Now he's got to wait for traffic to go by. This has to be the longest seconds of an entire race for him.
Yeah, let's go on board and see what happened to him coming down that long straightaway. We're about to turn left. It looks like maybe he locks the front brakes up for a moment, even with ABS. Look in the rearview mirror. He looks right. At the last second, pops off the brake pedal so it can turn. That's why they call this a runoff road. Nice job, Andy. Good heads-up job when the car just would not turn.
Hey, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Lock them up, scrub off some speed, and then when you absolutely have to, get off the brakes and turn it around. Now the traffic finally gives him a little bit of a break, and Andy Lally is back out on the circuit again.
Yeah, no harm, no foul, but he's lost about a dozen spots on the racetrack.
Andy Lally getting it back up to speed one more time. We'll be back with more from the Motorola Cup round at Trois-Rivières in a moment. Welcome back. Our leader underneath the Duplessis arch, Scott Maxwell in the 0 Ford Mustang, starting to pull away a bit of a gap. You can see this lead over the second place Doug Goad, number 11 Firebird, as they come down the straightaway. There goes Maxwell. And way back in the distance, there's the yellow number 11 car. Doug Goad is falling off the pace just a little bit. Scott Maxwell's doing a great job in traffic today.
Yeah, that's just it. The first car to get the traffic is the guy that's going to pull out some distance, because now the guy behind him, he's got to fight for that. He gets more frustrated when you see cars, stacking up between you and the leader, and so therefore you always need to lead through traffic.
Scott Maxwell's driving with the headlights on. That's probably not a bad idea either, just to let everybody know that he's coming through.
Yeah, an old Peter Gregg trick. Let the little guys know, hey, the big boys are coming.
That's it. It seems to work for him. Now, in order to turn the headlights on to the Firebird, he's got to pop those headlights up. That's probably not what he really wants to do.
No, and they probably don't work.
That could be a problem as well. The 30 and 31 Sunoco Firebirds, a battle for fourth place, as the Sunoco Firebird teammates still continue to run nose to tail. The number 11 car in that team runs in second spot, though. It appears as though the 31 car of Craig Conway got off to a little bit of a slow start. Could it be saving the car for later?
He could be saving the car. It could be a team deal where you have a sprinter up front, Goad, and then he lays back. But this is a sprint race. You need to sort of keep your nose in the wind about every second you're out there.
A little bit further back in the field, we catch up with the number 7 of David Lacey, who's chasing those two Firebirds out in front. David's having a pretty fair drive today, and he's driving with his headlights on as well. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned from Scott Maxwell, who's running out front.
Yeah, it's a good lesson because, like I say, you got to let the smaller cars know you're coming and that you're a faster car. And a lot of times they'll move over for you.
Coming down the straightaway one more time, we get another look at that battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. And now we catch up to our touring class leader, Bob Endicott, that 71 car, and right on the back bumper, the 59 of Mark Hine. What a great dice they've got going.
Yeah, the Solomon Smith Barney Honda Prelude right behind him. And then, of course, looking in the distance, we see the number 3, the Planet Earth Donamaker car.
This has probably been the most competitive class of all of 1999.
Yes, it is. The touring cars, they are bumper to bumper, just about every race, every corner. The Acura, the Hondas, the Mazdas are all close together. Now we're coming up. We have Bob Endicott. We're inside the car to BBS. Do not wind your street car this high. We turn to the right-hander. The BMW locks the rear wheels. That's a mismatched downshift. He let the clutch out on a dead motor, locked the rear tires up, and corrected himself into the wall.
We've got some other people who are using all of the racetrack and then some too. David Lacey, that number 7 Ford Mustang, gets it way wide coming out of a corner. Might have had a little help there.
Yeah, you're on board here. We're trying to get around the slower cars. The Miata is trying to give us by. He's trying to give us a spot. You know, the Mustang getting a little bit greedy here, uses a little more pavement than he needs to, and the Miata is still going to be on the inside.
He's not making it too easy for him. There's no doubt about that. The number 7 car of David Lacey, as he continues to run, this time by maybe a little bit more conservative line, though, as they head back toward the start-finish line. Lots of understeer. The car's really being pushed. Talking about understeer, another car in the fence.
Yeah, there's a bit of understeer. This is the same corner Andy Lally went off in. We come down here and maybe get a replay on the number 34 Prelude. Yeah, the car's just not turning. Came in a little bit too hot. Car not turning. And just as we look up, we might have had a teeny bit of help here.
Now we catch up in the compact class. This is Jocelyn Hebert, one of the local favorites here in Trois-Rivières. He lives just down the road in Quebec City, chasing 2 Grand Sport cars, the Acura NSX and an RX-7 just in front of him.
And this is a lot of fun for a little compact car to be right behind these 2 Grand Sports cars on a real tight circuit. This is probably the best handling car out here on tight corners.
Now, is there any truth to the fact that in a compact car like this Hyundai, they're almost on the gas all the time, or so it seems?
You have to keep the momentum up. You cannot park and squirt the car like you can the big V8. You've got to keep the momentum to flow through the corners. Here we see a lot of traffic. We see the Mustang V8 car trying to get around some of the other classes.
Scott Maxwell still the race leader in the Grand Sport Ford Mustang. Coca-Cola tries a Con Zero car, making his way by the number 81 Sport Class BMW. Paulo Del Chin coming down the start-finish line, gets by to the inside, heavy on the brakes into corner number 1, and that Duplessis arch is just around the corner here.
And that's a clean move. That's what you're looking for at the end of a long straight. Whoops.
Whoa, Howie Liebengood. Another one of the BMWs. This one's on its roof, though. Howie Liebengood's car is on its roof. I'm not sure how he got into that position. The marshals immediately on the scene saying that he's all right.
Yeah, they have these secret signals. Here, coming down to the arch, we see the BMW turning in. We see one of the non-maker cars helping him turn in a little bit, and now the BMW corrects into the wall, unfortunately. The good news about a tire wall is it doesn't damage the car, but they do have bouncing capabilities, and it bounced him up on the roof. It's an easy rollover, but none of them are real good.
Now, Howie's okay. However, I don't know if the car is in such great shape anymore. Howie Liebengood is out of that BMW, and now the cleanup crew is in a bit of a hurry. They're just going to drag it off the course on its roof.
Oh, man, that's like dragging a big dog off the road.
Let's take a look at the SDT leaderboard at the halfway mark. Scott Maxwell's the race leader in the 04 Mustang, followed by Doug Goad and Marty Miller in the Grand Sport class.
Lance Stewart leads back here in sports in his Acura.
Paulo Del Chin and Hugh Plum running second and third, respectively. In touring, it's Bob Endicott in the Acura Integra, the 71 car, followed by Mark Hine and Wayne Nunemaker. And in compact,
Jocelyn Hebert leads in the Hyundai, John Phillips is second, and Bob Beatty third in the Del Sol.
We'll be back with more action. We're under full course yellow. The Motorola Cup round number 6 from Trois-Rivières will continue in a moment. Welcome back to Trois-Rivières, Quebec. We're getting set for the restart, the home stretch of the first of our 2 races. And look at this jump Scott Maxwell's got on the whole field.
Maxwell got a great jump, and Goad, our second place car, he's stuck back here in lap traffic.
Boy, Doug Goad, he's from one side to the other trying to find his way by. Now manages to get out in front of that pack, which held him up for just a little bit down that start-finish line. Lots of cars using all sorts of the racetrack.
Yeah, Endicott way out in the marbles here. Lucky he stayed, kept that car out of the wall.
Sport leader, the number 10, Lance Stewart Acura, gets through there as well. We've got Paulo Del Chin in the BMW second in that 81 car. Hugh Plum, the Acura in third. The number 10 machine, the Lance Stewart Acura, has just been running like a freight train all day long.
The car is great. Team Hurricane is a great car, but Lance Stewart also is a great driver. Lance has run different things. We drove together for a couple of years. He taught with us and Skip Barber. He is very technical. He actually taught me a lot about how you use your eyes, where you should be looking all the time. Just a real nice guy.
Just behind him in the 81 BMW, Paulo Del Chin in that 81 car. We haven't seen a lot of him through the 1999 season, but Paulo Del Chin is a pretty fair racer from up north of the border. The Canadian from Toronto has himself a championship or 2 to his credit in everything from Formula V's and some other open-wheel cars as well.
Yeah, I really don't know him that well. Here comes a Grand Sports car around him. Of course, this does not affect him for class, obviously, but it holds him. Oh, the NXX is about sideways. I love to watch this car drive.
Boy, it sure is a ton of fun to watch, and it's one of those cars that, in order to make it maybe fit into the Grand Sport category, they've fitted it with narrower rear tires, and it looks to be really a handful on this really tight course.
That explains the power oversteer leaving the corners. The car, on the long, big straightaways, it doesn't have quite the power the V8s do, but boy, she sure can handle, and it's got wonderful brakes.
Boy, one car that has not had a good day at all is Mike Fitzgerald in that number 54 BMW, and we'll find out why.
This may be a team effort. Looks like maybe a little bit of a late pass over Mike Culver here. Both guys raced with us in the past, and, these cars came together at Sebring. I'd like to see their team orders.
I have a feeling Franz Blom is not really pleased with the way the team orders are working out today here at Trois-Rivières, the number 11 car. Scott Maxwell leading that Doug Goad Pontiac Firebird, but Doug Goad has himself a little bit of a challenge from behind in Marty Miller's 32 Firebird.
Yeah, Miller's been racing with Aquilini now for a couple of years, but Doug Goad sure has a little bit more seat time, a little more experience. But Marty's going to work and learning some lessons here.
Hey, if there's somebody you want to follow around the racetrack for a little while, it's going to be Doug Goad, and it looks as though Marty Miller is taking the lesson to heart. Coming down the start-finish line, about a car length and a half separates second and third place out on the racetrack.
If you can get behind a good guy like this, if you can just sort of mirror image everything he does, you can learn a lot.
David Lacey's been running real strong, but now there's some smoke from underneath that number 7 Coca-Cola Ford Mustang, and he's slowing down on the racetrack.
Yeah, the car begins to wiggle under brake, and I think he's cut a tire down.
Maybe so. His teammate, the 73 of Greg Wilkins, has gotten by for the 6th spot. That number 7 car does not look entirely healthy.
Oh, yeah, the left rear, you can see him spitting pieces off now. The left rear tire is down. I wonder if that's from the off-course excursion earlier.
Could very well have been. He's been driving real hard and falling off the track from time to time as well. The 43 of Dick Starita and the 40 Nonamaker Mazda's battling for third spot in the touring class, trying to chase down that number 58 Mark Hine Honda Prelude.
Yeah, these two guys working together, they can actually gain some. But Mark knows they're back there. These cars stay around us every minute we're on the racetrack.
Now the third place, number 72, Andy Lunley, BMW. We saw him in the spin a little bit earlier on, had some problems, and he's going to be knocked by the race leader in just a moment. Scott Maxwell through corner number 1. Corner number 2 comes up in just a moment. And underneath that Duplessis arch, one more time he gets through. Scott Maxwell has got to keep it on the road and keep it in a straight line, and this victory is going to be his. He's got a huge lead over the second place Doug Goad Firebird.
Yeah, but he can't let Lolly hold him up. He's got to get around that BMW. Marty Miller trying to run out. He wants that second place. He knows he's on the podium, but he's trying hard to get P2 from Doug Goad.
Doug Goad leads that number 32 car down one of the 2 straightaways here at Trois-Rivières. We're on the last lap, the last opportunity. Marty Miller's got a lot of real estate, though, to try to catch up to that 11 Firebird out in front.
Yeah, we're about out of time, I'm afraid.
So the third place, number 32 Pontiac Firebird, one of the better battles out on the racetrack as we ride along with our race leader and the 0 Ford Mustang through the final corner and down the start-finish line using all the curbs, even though he's got a pretty fair gap.
Yeah, on the last lap, he still uses a lot of car there. Boy, he almost got it right near that concrete wall as we see the checkered flag on the Mustang.
The checkered flag comes out, and now the battle for a second comes our way, and it's going to go to the 11 of Doug Goad. Marty Miller is going to have to settle for third today. The race winners, Scott Maxwell and Goad and Miller, pull side by side and give each other a thumbs up. A great battle. Lance Stewart wins the sport class in the 10 Acura. In touring, it was Bob Endicott in the 71 Acura Integra. And Jocelyn Hebert won his class in the Hyundai Tiburon. His explanation en français.
Évidemment, la Trois-Rivières étant notre place de prédilection là, chez nous. Tous nos supporters, les commanditaires Hyundai étaient en grand nombre sur place. Le fait de remporter la victoire, je pense que c'est satisfaisant pour tout le monde et même l'équipe qui travaille fort, qui est toujours en arrière là, à préparer les autos là, semaine après semaine. Quand arrive le Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, c'est notre événement, comme ils disent. Fait que c'est important de gagner. Là.
The Derringer Forward Motion Award, gaining the most positions in the race, the number 28 Grand Sport Acura NSX of John Shirk. He picked up 5 positions over the course of our contest today to win that award. The race winner once again, Scott Maxwell and the 0 Ford Mustang. We'll be back with race number 2 in just a moment. Welcome back. We're getting set for the start of race number 2. It's another sprint contest, 50 minutes on this same track here at Trois-Rivières. Now, in some of the cars, we've got different drivers. Some of the drivers have elected to run a second race in the same car. As far as our speed stick fastest qualifiers, Scott Maxwell will drive the 73 Ford Mustang in this race. His teammate will take over the 0 car, Benoit Tige in the 16 Mazda.
John Barrasso leads us in the sports category. Howie Liebengood on his roof yesterday won't be racing today. Billy Bob Nagel's third in sports.
As far as the touring class is concerned, we've got Peter Schwartza now behind the wheel of the 71 Acura, Will Nonamaker in the 40 car, John Weimar in the 43 Mazda.
And bringing up the compact class, our pole sitter John Phillips in the Mazda Miata over Mark Craig in the Hyundai and Mark Karavich in a Mazda Miata.
Now, the first of our 250-minute sprints really was a tremendous car race.
Yeah, usually the first lap or two, especially on a street circuit, you have so many cars trying to get in just a few spots, and a lot of times a lot of carnage. But we commented earlier what a great race in the first one.
Everybody managed to get through the first couple of turns without any incident, which at this racetrack in particular is really a challenge. Here we come for the start of round number 2. Scott Maxwell in the 73 Ford Mustang takes the lead. The 0 car of Greg Wilkins slots into second. The 7 of Jay Maloney is third. The Mustangs 1, 2, and 3 coming into quarter 1.
Talk about a cluster jam in turn 1. You have 4 or 5 cars abreast trying to narrow down to 3 cars. Then we're coming toward the arch, which is only a 1 car at best. And we really stack up here. Big high speeds and put the brakes on. It's sort of like a slinky effect. We got to watch for contact here in the back. This is a tough area. You got to shut the car down.
Oh, the first bunch of the cars get through without too much trouble. However, we're riding along with one of the Hyundai Tiburons, which almost comes to a stop. Going through the arch, manages to get through so far. This is, oh, we got cars backwards, and we got them all stacked up here, and I mean stacked.
Literally stacked. They're in the right lane. They are stopped back here in the back. The first half of the field is through, but boy, I hope we get a replay on this.
Let's take another whoa as we've got cars really pushing hard on lap number 1. The people in the front of the pack don't know what's happened back here. Ouch.
Oh, we had a car turned around early in the race. That's what's happened. He's been turned around. The Miata has nowhere to go. The Lexus comes back under him. So it's just like you see on the highway, the stack-up effect.
And once again, just like on the highway, we've got the patrol out there directing traffic just a little bit. One of the cars which was involved, that number 61 Honda, is still circulating. I'm afraid that at least the Mazda is done for the afternoon, though.
Yeah, that's what you're always afraid of on a street race, the street circuit, the very first turn.
So we are under full course yellow. We've got a couple of cars we've got to get out of harm's way. The pace car is out. We'll be back with more action. Hopefully a little less action, to be totally honest, from the Motorola Cup round number 6 at Trois-Rivières in a moment. You know, Motorola's involvement in racing is a lot more than just as a series sponsor. Every pit crew here is in constant wireless communication with its drivers, monitoring track conditions, car performance, and after the race, Motorola StarTAC wearable phone comes in handy to report the good news, too. And now, the StarTAC has been reintroduced as a powerful web-enabled e-messaging tool, too. Motorola, introducing the web without wires. Check it out at Motorola.com. The lights are off in the pace cars. We're set for the restart. It's going to be the Mustangs 1, 2, and 3 with the 73 of Scott Maxwell out in front of the crowd. It's Maxwell, Wilkins, and Jay Maloney as they head through the final corner coming down the start-finish line looking for the green flag. In the first race, he went out to a huge lead, but his teammates aren't going to let him get away with that.
No, they've all seen that action. They saw the replay, so they're ready to go. Inside cut here on Benoit Tige. Ooh!
Gets into the side of the number 32 Firebird, gets spun around and takes a Firebird to the inside with him. Benoit Tige tries for a little bit of a bonsai move on lap number 1 of the restart here.
Yeah, that's Marty Miller. Let's see if we see the replay. See, Marty's already turned in. Marty's on his arc. Benoit takes a shortcut, gets him in the passenger door. Synchronized spinning here. Beautiful. I'll give this a 10. But on the outside, nice miss by one of the Firebird. Ooh, not a good miss on the inside here.
One of the Firebirds tries to go to the inside. Benoit Tige rolls into the front corner of that car. So Benoit Tige has collected 2 of the Firebirds already.
Let's see what it looks like from behind. The Mazda pops out a little bit late. Marty's already turned in. Boom, gets him in the passenger door. They both spin around. We go to the outside. There's a clear lane here.
Hey, nice piece of driving by Devin Pell in that 11 cars. He gets around the outside and stays away from the carnage as all of the cars roll to the inside of corner number 1. Out front, though, Greg Wilkins has taken over first spot from the 73. His teammate, Scotty Maxwell's fallen down the second spot, and it looks like Greg Wilkins is walking away.
Yeah, he's got clean air up here. He's not worried about anybody in front of him, obviously, and doesn't care too much what's behind him right now.
Hey, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Get out front and stay there. See if you can make a little bit of real estate between yourself and the second place car. Doing a great job. Greg Wilkins, not the most experienced racer in the team. We got a car without a bumper.
Well, the bumper's still there. It's just hanging on by a thread, as we would say. Looks like we're going full course yellow.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how this would happen. We get another replay.
Yeah, a bit of a late pass here. He gets inside the Magner car, tracks out across his nose. Ed doesn't check up, takes the bumper with it. That's not a big deal.
Not a great big deal, although he's probably going to have to come in along pit lane and have that taken care of, and it's going to cost him a bunch of spots. Philippe Letourneau in the number 82 Honda Prelude with a bumper trailing along behind us. We're under full course yellow again. How do you turn a street car into a winning race car? We asked Gord Cullen of the Hyundai team.
Hyundai's really come a long way. Their cars have become quite sophisticated now. Twin cam, 16-valve motors. They want to get out there and compete with Toyota and Honda. They've come a long way in sophistication, performance, and everything else, and they're going to be a serious competitor for the manufacturers that have been in the game before. We're allowed to modify the suspension with shocks and springs. However, all the mounting points are still the same. You're allowed to change brake pads. Even the motor and transmission have to remain stock other than some balancing and blueprinting. Even the exhaust system has to remain stock right from the engine. You're allowed to change the final exhaust. So the two cars are very, very similar. Other than mainly the handling characteristics, just because of the sophisticated shock absorbers, springs, and sway bars we can put into the race car. Basically, for safety purposes and to make the cars easier to work on, they completely strip the interior other than the dashboard, install a racing seat and the full roll cage in the car. And it's basically a safety feature. If you ever had a fire or anything, you don't want plastic materials around on the inside of the car. Its strongest suit is handling. The car, even the street car, is an excellent handling car. And the race car just takes the geometry that's designed into the street car and takes it to a higher level. So we have probably one of the best handling cars out on the track. Well, our cars under braking and handling are every bit as good as the Grand Sport cars. The faster Grand Sport cars seem to realize that. Some of the slower guys seem to consider it an insult to them if they can't try to dive bomb us into a corner. But handling and braking, they're every bit as good, if not better, than some of the heavier cars.
The 82 Honda Prelude dragging a bumper, a little debris on the racetrack. We're under yellow. We'll be right back with a restart from Trois-Rivières, Quebec in just a moment. The lights are out in the pace car, and it looks as though Greg Wilkins is doing everything he can not to outrun it, but just barely.
Yeah, at certain points you can't pass him, but he's got a good restart.
The pace car is in along pit lane now, and another great jump. This time, Greg Wilkins takes Jay Maloney along with him. The two Reds Coca-Cola Ford Mustangs, a half straightaway length lead on the balance of the field.
Yeah, the third Mustang must not be on the same radio circuit because he's definitely laid back. Maybe he's holding up Devin Powell.
Well, maybe he's doing it on purpose. Not that Scott Maxwell would ever do that. It looks as though the 73 Ford Mustang, though, does have a mechanical problem as Powell gets around him to the outside coming up this straightaway.
Hard braking zone, but he's on the wrong side of the racetrack. You need the preferred line or the inside. He's going to try to pop back him down this long, pop back around him on this long straightaway. This could happen with no horsepower, but a right-hand turn coming up. The Firebird's on the wrong side of the track for this.
Scott Maxwell doing exactly what he's supposed to do, trying to stay out in front of that number 11 car. For some reason, Scott was out in the 0 car yesterday and just ran away from the field. Today, though, the 73 Ford Mustang, it's certainly not as quick as the 0 car.
I think the car's a lot looser than he likes. If you notice, the rear end wiggles around turning in, it wiggles around coming off the corners. I think it's a little looser than what he's used to.
And although the car isn't quite as fast as the 0 car that he drove yesterday, he really is driving the widest Ford Mustang we've seen in quite a while. Devin Powell really having a tough time now, finally gets around him coming down the straightaway.
I wouldn't be so sure. We've got to turn right. That Mustang's still somewhere in the earth. There he is.
Scott Maxwell staying to the inside of every single corner, basically saying to Devin Powell, if you're going to go around me, hey, I'm going to make you do it the hard way.
Don't do it here. Don't do it here. There's no room. He's got to tuck back in behind. You know, a street circuit is so tough to pass on. Plus, when your guy's making it wide for you, you can make your life miserable. Plus, Devin knows that the leaders are running way away. Big horsepower here, long straightaway. We might get it done this time.
Maybe this time, as Devin Powell, we look over his shoulder coming into the hard braking zone. Scott Maxwell again to the inside, and he's held onto the spot again.
Notice that flag waving. That's called a passing flag. It's just to warn the lead car that, hey, there's a car trying to pass you. I think he knows that.
I think he's probably aware of that right now. Devin Powell certainly is. He's doing everything possible to try to get around that 73 Mustang. Scott Maxwell's driving the wheels off the car, trying to stay out front, too.
Yeah, the Mustang's using up more tire here. This car's getting a little bit looser and looser, so hopefully Devin can keep the tires under. Oh, we got to spin in the back.
In behind, we've got one of those yellow Sunoco Pontiac Firebirds spinning around. The 31 car has gone around and rearranged the front suspension a little bit from the look of things.
Yeah, looks like he's broken the right front tie rod. The James Yacht car.
James Yacht in the 31 Sunoco Firebird. We'll get another look at this as they come around the corner. James already is sideways, and he's been tagged by the number 32 Pontiac.
Yeah, he and Marty Miller get together a little bit, and you can see the right front tie rod broken in this car. It won't steer.
A little bit further back in the pack, we ride along with the compact class. Ed Magner just out in front of one of the Hyundai Tiburons coming down the straightaway. An interesting comparison between the newer Hyundai Tiburon and the older Oldsmobile Achieva. Great battle. A
great battle here. The Oldsmobile's got about 200,000 race miles on it. A lot of them behind a record, but still, it's been a great old car for him.
Ed Magner doing a great job, and it looks as though the Hyundai Tiburon is really getting his dander up a little bit, trying to find a way around the Oldsmobile, and he's trying too hard.
Yeah, a lot more action here in the second race. He makes a small mistake. Now 2 cars get around him.
Mark Craig in that number 6 Hyundai gets off in the grass over here and does a real good job not to end up in this tire wall. Just barely misses it.
Boy, that's a fact. With the front drive car, he's able to pull it out with power. We're back to our V8. Speaking of front drive, there's a rear drive up here at the front.
Again, Scott Maxwell. Now, Devin Powell finally gets around that 73 car. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Scott Maxwell can hold anybody else off, because it appears to be running a little bit backwards in this field.
Yeah, the Mustangs, like I say, he uses tires up harder trying to stay ahead of that fire, but we see a lot of yellows. Are we going full course?
I think we've had somebody slide wide just in front of Devin Powell's Sunoco Firebird. Yes, there is a car off the race circuit over there. So just an isolated yellow out on the racetrack. Scott Maxwell trying to hold off the 89. Jocelyn Hebert has moved up from the Hyundai Tiburon in the first race. Now drives the 89, the Monsieur Muffler Chevy Camaro. The yellow Camaro trying to find his way around Scott Maxwell in the red Ford Mustang.
That's pretty unique here. You go from a small front drive, low horsepower car to a big V8 rear drive. That's a pretty big step.
It's a big step. Actually, kind of a step down yesterday. This is the car that Jocelyn Hebert is most used to. He's driven this car for a couple of years now in the Motorola Cup. And just doing a little hometown duty for the Hyundai team yesterday. Did a real nice job finishing first in class.
That's about as nice as you can get.
Oh, that's about as good as it gets. And now he's got himself a bit of a challenge. Again, Scott Maxwell has admittedly a little bit slower car, but he's making it tough for everybody. He's saying, you're going to have to work to get around me today. I'm going to drive the inside line wherever I can.
Yeah, keep in mind he's also protecting his spot, but he's protecting the guys in front of him, the guys that are leading this race, his teammates.
That's right. The two Ford Mustangs are out in front and continue while the battle goes on behind to extend the lead that they have.
This is such a great battle here. We see the Mustang leading the Z28 Camaro, leading the NSX, leading the BMW. This is the Motorola Cup, such a great series.
Scott Maxwell is actually holding a whole bunch of people up from the look of things here. That NSX has moved into the fight as well. One of the BMW M3s moves in. Now coming down the front straightaway, Jocelyn Hebert has to look to the outside of the corner. Can't make the pass happen.
Yeah, the sun comes up in the east, goes down in the west, and the guy on the outside generally doesn't get it done.
This is the toughest piece of the racetrack where everybody has to drive single file through corner number 2 underneath the Duplessis Arch once again. Devin Powell goes by third place, the 73 Coca-Cola car of Scott Maxwell, now with a little bit of a train in behind him as everybody's trying to find their way around.
Yeah, and Hebert's got to worry about getting around the Mustang, but also he's worried about that NSX behind him. Here he's side by side. Maybe he's going to make this good outside move. Cool move.
He had to go around the outside. Scott Maxwell made him work for it, but Jocelyn Hebert now moves into third place, and the NSX almost gets to the inside there and almost gets pushed into a wall. He didn't have enough room to make that pass. Good brakes on the car, that's for sure.
Well, you have to. When no fenders cost a lot more than the Mustang, you have to be careful with brakes.
And it looks as though we've had an expensive motor go away. John Barraza, the number 10 at Team Hurricane Acura, the winner of the class yesterday, and he's got a problem. It looks as though he's gone through a motor.
The number 71, Peter Schwartzot, BVS Acura, trying to chase down Will Nonamaker.
And he's got a BMW M3 sandwich between him, so he's got a little bit of work to do to try to find his way around. A great battle out there. Peter Schwartzot in the 71 car, trying to hunt down the turquoise and green number 40 Mazda MX-6 just out in front, going down the straightaway.
A blown engine. That's another one of our Camaros in the field.
Yannick Barbio off in a cloud of smoke. That's the number 93 car. The Auto Pro Chevrolet Camaro has come to a stop out on the race circuit.
He's pulled it over to the safe side of the track. Let's see a replay here. Yeah, he's slowing down. Lots of, death smoke out the back.
Awful looking stuff as that 93 Chevrolet Camaro comes to a stop. A great piece of driving, though. It pulls it right over to a Marshall stand just in case a fire bottle is needed. They're going to push the 93 car off the racetrack, and while they do that, let's take a look at the STP leaderboard at the halfway mark. The race leader in the Multimatic Ford Mustang is Greg Wilkins. Jay Maloney runs second. Devin Powell in the 11 Firebird is third.
In sports, leading his first Motorola Cup, Billy Bob Nagel, followed by Mike Van Seeklen and Chris Gleason.
As far as that touring category, Will Nonamaker, as we mentioned just a moment ago, leading Peter Schwartzot 71 Acura, and John Green in the 51 Honda is third. In compact, Mark Craig in the Hyundai Tiburon leads the class. Then John Phillips and Ed Magner will be back with more action in just a moment. Once again, the pace car pulls off, and Greg Wilkins doing a great job. Doesn't pass the pace car, but he's right up beside him, and now picks up the pace as they head down toward the start-finish line one more time. The green flag. All set for the restart. Wilkins, Maloney, Powell, and Aaron Maxwell, the top 5.
Yeah, he must have been warned about jumping a restart because this time the entire pack's right there with him. Here comes the green.
Boy, a great-looking field as everybody strings out nose to tail down the start-finish line. Greg Wilkins pulls away just a little bit. A little further back in the field, we've got Powell right on Maloney in that battle for second place out on the racetrack. Coming down underneath the arch. Just the slightest of margins for first to second, but boy, Devin Powell doing a great job really harassing Jay Maloney in that Ford Mustang for second.
Yeah, Devin was held up the last restart, but he's right on the leaders now.
There's no doubt about it. He's not going to let that happen to him one more time. The 0 car is out front. Running in second spot, the number 7, and we've got a car off the racetrack. The 48 Ed Magner Oldsmobile Achievas in the tire wall.
These guys get lots of airtime. Let's see if we can get a replay to see what put Ed over there. I probably didn't do it by himself. Oh, here comes the Honda Prelude on the inside. This is about a one-lane racetrack here. Ed turns in. Yeah, but doesn't even see him there. Fortunately for tire walls, they don't hurt the car too badly and sort of stacks the field up for a minute. So this won't be a big hit. We see him turned around on the replay, locked up front brakes on the Prelude. Boy, lucky this wasn't a bigger hit. You know, this is not the first time in this race we've seen these two cars come together. Earlier, as the Prelude gets inside of Magner's Oldsmobile, tracks out across his nose. Magner could have checked up, but I think they both think they're at fault.
Yeah, well, they're all even now. That's all there is to it as the race leaders go by one more time. And we've got a tremendous battle on our hands for second between the Mustang and the Firebird. The number 7 car runs in second spot. The 11 Firebird of Devin Powell's right in behind him. Jay Maloney trying to hold on to that second position while his teammate in the 0 car, Greg Wilkins, trying to put a little real estate between himself and that battle.
But it's so hard to do here. Notice how the left front tires come off the ground here. The cars are so stiffly sprung.
One of the things you can do with the cars in Motorola Cup is tinker with the springs and the suspension and that kind of thing. And one of the things all the teams do is stiffen these cars up. And what that does when you come to a street circuit like the one we've got here at Trois-Rivieres, it really is apparent how stiff these cars are because of the changes of the camber of the road.
Yeah, the pavement's not flat. We see Bob Nagel here. Billy Bob Nagel races in our Skip Barber Series a lot. We're a great guy. This is his first time in a big sedan car, and he's leading the class.
Doing a great job. Will Nonamaker a little bit further back in the 40 car. John Green getting by the 71 of Peter Schwartzott. That's a battle for second in touring as well.
This is a great battle. We have the Mazda up front, we've got the Honda, and we've got the Acura. Right here we see Peter Schwartzott and John Green, two of the seasoned veterans, probably two of the best guys in touring class that there is, both on and off the racetrack. I was teammates with both these guys for a couple of years, and I'm telling you, we had a lot of fun both on and off, but they are ruthless behind the wheel of that car. Look for either one of these guys to win this race.
The same kind of a contest out front. Greg Wilkins has the lead, but not by very much. Just the slightest of mistakes, and all of a sudden his teammate Jay Maloney in the 7 Mustang's going to steal away that position. And as if that isn't enough, there's probably not much more of a gap all the way back to 3rd spot as Devin Powell in that 11 Pontiac Firebird runs right in behind those two.
Yeah, but Wilkins still has the cushion of not worrying too much about who's in front of him. All he can do is look straight ahead, not worry about trying to get around that car. Whereas everybody else has to worry about the car in front and the car in back.
Lots of people running with one eye in the mirror, including Jay Maloney running in 2nd, Devin Powell in 3rd, Jocelyn Hebert, who won his class at a compact car yesterday, running in 4th spot right now in the Chevrolet Camaro. And we've got a car with a problem, Bob Nagel.
Bob, who's leading in the sports class, we just bragged about him. Looks like the car is going to let him down.
Oh, that's too bad because he jumped into this automobile the first chance we'd seen him.
We hop inside the car to see this blown engine. We're in Peter Schwartzott's 3rd place Acura behind John Green, who's running 2nd. We get into the smoke. We have no idea what's in here. All of a sudden, we look up the leader in the class. It's the MX-6 Monomaker. He goes into the tire wall. John never slows down, never looks back. John Green inherits the lead. Peter Schwartzott 2nd.
Well, the Mazda got out of the tire wall without too much damage from the look of things, but he's well off the pace now and at least down in 4th place in the touring class.
Nagel climbs out of the blown engine car. Oh, how frustrating after leading that race.
Did a great job. It looks as though the car's all right. John Barras is there as well. His car stopped with the same problem earlier on.
Yeah, I think we'll have it catered later. We see Schwartzott right there behind Green. Green now is in the lead. That's one of two of the toughest drivers you're ever going to see in touring class, bumper to bumper. I still wouldn't toss a coin on this one. Every time I gave John Green the car at the end of a race, I never looked back. I knew he was going to bring that car home. There's no doubt about it. Schwartzott, by the same token, he is so smooth. He is going to dog him every inch of the way.
About 3 feet separates 1st and 2nd in the touring class as we come down to the final moments of our race down at Trois-Rivieres. And it looks as though Peter Schwartzott, who's probably got as many miles on this racetrack as just about any in the Northeast, is just all over the back bumper of John Green, just waiting for him to make the tiniest of mistakes.
Yeah, it's hard to have with John, though. Good luck. He's going to have to make a mistake.
One guy who hasn't made a mistake all day is Greg Wilkins in the 0 Ford Mustang, coming around the final couple of corners, leading his teammate David Lacey, sliding the car around the last 2 corners of the racetrack. Comes down the start-finish line. The headlights are on. There's nobody in front of him, though. The last lap board being shown to the race leaders as they come into turn number 1.
Yeah, he's feeling his oats now, feeling his Wheaties. He's sort of playing around with the car. He knows he's got this win. Here comes John Green. He's hoping he keeps Schwartzott behind for a lap.
Boy, 2 great dices going on here. John Green's established a little bit of a gap now, maybe a car length, and that is about the biggest gap we've seen in the touring class all day long coming into our final lap.
Yeah, and it's still not over yet. You still got to sweat. You still got to sweat every corner. You know, like the blown motor a while ago. You got to worry about that.
There could be some oil on the racetrack, some debris. Somebody could hold you up just a little bit. John Green listening to every sound that car makes as he comes around the final couple of corners. Again, Peter Schwartzott fades back just a little bit. Peter's driven a very, very difficult race today, as has the race leaders coming around the final turns. Wilkins just in front of Jay Maloney now, both of them running with the headlights on the last lap to make sure that nobody gets in their way. They've still got that yellow Devin Powell Firebird in behind them, but it's not going to be enough. The race leader, the checkered flag, Greg Wilkins wins this round. The 0 car wins 2 races in a row with different drivers. Scott Maxwell yesterday, Greg Wilkins full measure for the victory today.
And still racing for touring from Roseville, California, out of Carmichael Honda, John Green leads Peter Schwartzott heading to the stripe, holding his...
Welcome back. Here in the winner's circle at Trois-Rivieres, the Motorola StarTac stars of the race, Greg Wilkins in the 0 Multimatic Motorsport Ford Mustang, the race winner in Grand Sport. In Sport Class, it was Mike Van Sicklen in the Driving Force Acura Integra.
And in touring, my old buddy John Green in the TI Racing Car.
Compact, Mark Craig in the Hyundai Tiburon. Our Derringer forward motion winner, once again the Grand Sport number 28 Acura NSX, gaining 7 positions, this time driven by Mike Neville.
There's a pattern here. I think they qualify bad just to get this award.
They're getting good at it, that's for sure. Now let's take a look at how the points shake out so far this season after 6 of 10 races. Doug Goad in Grand Sport leads his teammate Devin Powell by 2 points.
And just as tight in sports, Lance Stewart barely 1 point over Andy Lawley. That's an Acura Integra up front, a BMW second, and John Barrasso, Lance's teammate, in third.
In the touring class, could it get any closer? John Wymore leads Will and Wayne Nunemaker 152 to 150 apiece for the Nunemaker brothers.
Things don't slack up much in compact. Bob Beatty leads his teammate in the Honda Del Sol, 161 to 157. Gord Cullen back at 146.
Our next race is from Road Atlanta. For Terry Airwood, I'm Jim Martin saying so long. The Motorola Cup has been brought to you by Motorola. Web without wires. By Castrol, track-proven performance. And by Hoosier Tires, tires designed for champions.